What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So, Michigan State versus that school down the road in the battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy, Saturday night, 7:30 in Spartan Stadium. Now, Michigan State's coming in off of a loss to Indiana. Four straight losses on the season, 3-4 overall on the season. School down the road's coming in 5-2, win over a pretty good Washington team last week. These two teams have played two similar opponents, Nebraska and USC. Both of them were played on the road for both sides. The school on the road went 1-1, a 30-27 win against Nebraska, then a 31-13 loss at USC. Michigan State did unfortunately lose both of those games, but kind of different type of scores, different types of games. 38-27 loss against Nebraska and a 45-31 loss against USC. But listen, this one's always a big time game, and it's no different this year. Even if it's a more kind of tame hate week, I guess, if you will. Maybe the 2012 one is one that a lot of people have brought up, with neither team kind of super happy with how, the season's kind of gone to this point. But listen, these 60 minutes can certainly change the vibe of your season, going either way, coming down with about a month to go in the regular season. So going to be no different this Saturday. 60 minutes can change a lot, one way or the other, for Michigan State. Can get you feeling really good, kind of going into this last half of the schedule and, getting back in the win column against that school down the road who, look, if you're Michigan State, facts are facts. You've lost 3 straight in this rivalry game. I said coming into the year, this is obviously a game that you always point to, but you cannot lose 4 straight games in a rivalry, no matter what the rivalry is. That's what's at stake on Saturday night in Spartan Stadium. But before we do jump into the matchup, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there. One more Michigan State football content on the channel throughout the season, so just make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video. So we'll look at that school down the road. Obviously, starting at quarterback, Bryce Underwood, obviously the freshman, coming in solid freshman year so far, 1,440 yards, 7 touchdowns compared to 2 interceptions. 62% completion percentage, definitely something that he can continue to work on. While, from what we have seen of him, I don't think that 62% completion percentage is personally all on him. I've seen games he's hitting receivers right in the hands, right in the chest, and they're just dropping them. But he does have 202 yards rushing as well with 3 touchdowns. He's been sacked 8 times, but he's got the ability to kind of move, get out of the pocket. But that completion percentage, as I kind of just alluded to, some of that is like, freshman moments, as all freshmen are going to have, especially when you're, playing at a big time, Big Ten level. But some of them is on the receivers, which we will get to here in a second. That running back room, Justice Haynes has been really good. No other way to slice it. 705 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's 7.5 yards a carry. He has big play ability every time he touches the ball. And he missed last week, but from reading some stuff this week, it seems like he's expected to practice this week and should be good to go for them on Saturday. Jordan Marshall, solid as well behind him, 434 yards, 4 touchdowns on the year. That's 5.2 yards per carry. The receiving room, kind of what was the question in the summer coming in for this team, and is the question kind of right now for them. Has been kind of up and down, kind of watching from afar. Donovan McCulley, their leading guy, 369 yards and 2 touchdowns. Andrew Marsh, 297 and 2 touchdowns. Familiar name for them, seems like it's been around, on that team for years. Samaj Morgan, 214 yards and a touchdown on the year. Always like to look at their tight ends, see what they do there. Marlon Klein and Zach Marshall, over 100 yards each have a touchdown on the year. But their defense, listen, you got to start with Ernest Hausman, their leading tackler, 47 tackles on the year, 1 sack. Those numbers could be way higher because his presence is definitely felt. Edge rusher for them, Derek Moore's got 4.5 sacks. They have 17 as a team, so definitely a strength for them and something Michigan State's offensive line will have to deal with all night long. They have 11 interceptions as a team, and 3 of them come from linebacker Cole Sullivan. 5 of them are from the linebackers or edge positions as well. Now, I mentioned that, not saying that the DBs are scrubs or anything, or like, oh, you should specifically target the defensive back. Like, no, I'm not saying that at all, but I think that, statistically, they're kind of middle of the pack in terms of passing yards allowed. They're 57th. So, for Michigan State and Aiden Childs, they have the ability, Nick Marsh, Amari Kelly, attack this defense more vertically, kind of, to, take out some of those underneath routes with the talented front linebackers that they do have. But in order to do that, they're going to have to loosen up the front of that defense by getting the run game going. And that's something that'll definitely be tough, but that's something that was successful for Michigan State in this game last year. They'll have to do it again if they want to come out on top, but more on that here in a second as we finish up with that school down the road. 41% on third down, that's 66 in the country, but 11% on fourth down, which is dead last, 134th in the country. Similar to Indiana, though, looking at this game, getting to third and long in terms of a key for this one. Getting to third and long on defense for Michigan State, but keeping them at, on third and long, keeping them in that long distance, not letting them get to fourth and manageable, even though, you look at that 11%, last in the country, yes. But Michigan State has struggled on defense for a decent amount of this year, and we kind of saw it against Indiana. The play, it was 3rd and 16. Indiana gets kind of similar. They're good on third down. They didn't have a really good percentage on fourth down. But on 3rd and 16, Indiana able to get 14 yards, set up a 4th and 2, a lot more manageable, and boom. They go ahead and get the first down there and go ahead and move the chain. So definitely going to be another key coming into this week for this Michigan State defense is, first off, forcing them into those third and longs, but keeping them at those third and longs, to force thirds and longs, to force the punting team to go out there, get your defense off the field. And we flip it over to Michigan State, have to stay out of so many third downs, so many of them. And first of all, but you got to convert when you do get third downs. 39% on the year. School down the roads, 68th at allowing 38% conversions on third down. So kind of middle of the pack, right there. But Michigan State definitely has got to stay out of so many third downs. I don't even remember. It was a high number against Indiana. Got to stay out of so many third downs. And last year in this game, Michigan State got going running the ball. Nathan Carter, I believe it was a career game. I forget the exact number, 132, 134, might have been even more than that. But that was definitely the key last year that really got this thing rolling for Michigan State. Obviously wasn't able to translate everything throughout the whole game, but that was kind of what happened in that first half when Michigan State looked really good and was in a prime position to win this game last year. But that definitely is going to be tough as we circle back to school down the road, 15th in the country in terms of rushing defense. But some other keys looking at, and kind of basic in this game overall when you look over the years. You got to win the turnover battle, especially when you're at home. You got to win the turnover battle. Can't have careless turnovers as well. And defensively for Michigan State, you need to force 1 or 2. And that kind of leads into my next point in force this freshman quarterback, while very talented, think he's going to have a good career for them. Force him in his first big-time rivalry game at night, on the road, in Spartan Stadium. Force him to beat you with his arm. Yes, he has the talent to do so, but this is his first big-time spot like that in a rivalry game like this. Force him to do that. And that is, yes, mostly on the defense. They're the ones out there making the plays, but that's on the crowd, the energy as well. Make it tough for them in this game on, when it gets to third down or fourth down, whatever. Be loud the whole game to make this freshman quarterback, make it as difficult as possible for him and make him beat you. And if he does beat you and torch you, then you tip your cap, whatever. But I think that's got to be the key because you got to sell out to stop the run anyway, especially if Justice Haynes, as it sounds like he will be playing with as big of a talent he is, and even his backup in this game, Jordan Marshall, it is no scrub either. So you're gonna have to sell out to stop the run. I would personally sell out more to stop the run, and just trust. You hope on the Michigan State side, if you maybe get Nakai Martinez back in that secondary, that you can do some more stuff in that secondary, and hopefully make some plays. But I think that'll be key, and it's not just on the secondary, selling out to stop the run, but then on passing downs as well. It's on Michigan State getting to the quarterback. We saw a little bit more in the Indiana game, getting to the quarterback a little bit, but just getting there and making the pressure on him tough. We talked about he's done a good job for them in Bryce Underwood in getting the ball to the wide receivers in good positions, right to their hands to make plays, but they've been able to drop them. Don't even force him to make those difficult throws and make sure they're not on target. So if he's had a easy time in terms of getting the ball to those wide receivers in that easy to catch spots, and they've not been able to catch a good amount of them, then make it tough. So he's making a tough throw and making it even tougher for the wide receivers to catch them. So just don't even put that to chance. But so getting to the quarterback, selling out to stop the run, forcing Bryce to beat you through the air in this game. Then penalties. Now, both of these teams are actually top 14 in fewest penalties per game in the country. So, but that's even more key in this game. And hopefully the crowd, can kind of help swing that for Michigan State and maybe, force one or two on defense for Michigan State on their offense, force one or two, maybe a false start or whatnot. And, if you can do that, got to win the turnover battle, the penalty battle. Those are two always kind of keys in this game. But then on the offensive side for Michigan State, rhythm. Early first two drives, and rhythm I think kind of goes both ways, actually, to kind of start out here. But rhythm on both sides of the ball, both offensively and defensively. For the offense, we talked about getting the run game going, but supplementing the run with, like we saw last week, Indiana, the quick screens, the smoke screens, bubble screens, whatever, slip screens, getting the ball out quick. I think I said slip screens twice, but whatever, you get the point. Getting the ball out quick, getting the chains moving, keeping things kind of rolling, and then going down and putting points on the board. 7 over 3, please. But getting into that rhythm will be big for Michigan State in this one. And then I think another one is the third quarter, both ways, offensively, defensively, coming out swinging in the third quarter. We've seen at times, everyone's talking about the stat right now about how under Jonathan Smith, how Michigan State has gotten outscored some crazy amount in the second half, or they haven't outscored a Power 4 opponent. Like everyone knows the stats that are going around about that. Things have not gone well in the second half for Michigan State, but I think the third quarter is big to set the tone coming out of halftime as well. And then your best player, the best player, in my opinion, that will be on the field on Saturday night in Nick Marsh. Give him the ball while also utilizing your other talents due to Nick Marsh probably being double teamed usually every time he sees the field. So, we talk about Amari Kelly all the time, still wanting to see more of Jack Velling, Michael Masunas, but a lot of, especially those tight ends in Velling and Masunas, a lot of that depends on this running game. Mekhi Frazier, Brandon Tullish, Elijah Tolliver. A lot of it depends on them getting things going. This offensive line setting the tone, helping get that run game going, but giving Childs time back there as well to throw those routes, as we talked about, going more vertical instead of the underneath and kind of the linebacker edge range where they can make plays. Setting that up further will be key, and Marsh is the key option there. Get him the ball. And we've seen over the last couple weeks his targets have gone way up as they should. As I said, he's, in most games he will play. He's going to be the best player on the field. For sure the best wide receiver, but the best player on the field. You get your best player the ball. But to kind of close it out here, obviously big game. Got to play with emotion, but smart emotion for 60 minutes. And this is a game, as I said, kind of at the beginning of this thing here, you cannot lose 4 in a row in this rivalry. You simply cannot. And, kind of all the talk around this, with people questioning kind of the future of this program. And while, like, a win in this game, I don't want to say fixes everything, it definitely gets you feeling a lot better in terms of getting up for this game. And, it seems like everyone kind of involved now, like, Jonathan Smith, in Childs, we saw his comments this week saying, like, oh yeah, this rivalry is a lot bigger than the Oregon State rivalry that he played in. So kind of maybe a bigger understanding now going into last year. And last year they almost won this game. This is a game you have to win if you're Jonathan Smith and Michigan State. And if you get this win, you move to 4-4 on the year. You got 4 games left to get to a bowl game. And you got, you look at your schedule going forward after this, you got Minnesota, you got a bye, you got Penn State at home, and then you go on the road to Iowa and you got Maryland at Ford Field. No easy games, but games that you can compete in with what we've seen at times this year. And if Michigan State is able to put some of the stuff we've seen throughout the season, some of the stuff we've seen at USC, some of the stuff that we saw against Indiana, some of the defense we saw in some of these games, if you can kind of like a puzzle, kind of piece it all together for 60 minutes in this thing, you can get a big time win on Saturday, bring Paul Bunyan home, 7:30 game in Spartan Stadium, and kind of get everyone's feel going. Because let's face it, the vibes have been pretty down around the program lately, and this win definitely would kind of hopefully turn things in the right direction. So that's all that matters. Just win. Just win this game. You need to win this game. So go out there and win this thing. So we will get into our 5 picks of the weekend. 3-2 last week, 20-20 overall on the season. So going to start with our game, as we always do. First, taking Michigan State plus 14.5 against that school down the road. I think 14.5 is a lot. Like, obviously anything can happen in this game. You never know. But I think 14.5 at home in this game. We saw what this game looked like last year. I think kind of can be similar. I think it'll be a close game either way. I just think 14.5, you at least clear. I do think Michigan State can win this game, but 14.5, I think they can cover that. And then I'm taking over 54.5 UCLA at Indiana. I think the spread for that game was 24.5. Really wanted to take UCLA, possibly do that, but that 54.5. I mean, Indiana can get almost there themselves, so I like that in that game. I'm taking Oklahoma minus 4.5 versus Ole Miss. Then I'm taking Vanderbilt. I think they got College Game Day this week. Vanderbilt, I'm taking minus 2.5 versus Missouri. And then lastly, I'm taking Texas A&M minus 2.5 at LSU. So anyway, those are the picks for this weekend. Hopefully now sitting at 500 for the season, we can stay above 500 for the rest of the way here. But anyway, obviously big game, Spartan Stadium on Saturday night. Cannot wait to be in there, see the atmosphere, get a full day of tailgating in, and can't wait to see what campus looks like and Spartan Stadium. Show out for what is the game of the season, for sure. If you lose this game, things can kind of keep spiraling. If you win this game, there's hope for this season and kind of continuing to build. This is a rebuild overall. So, getting a win in this game, getting Paul Bunyan back, all at stake Saturday night. So anyway, that'll do it for this one. We'll be back to talk about this game afterwards. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.